Alright, this video is going to be far astray from my normal political economic philosophy, well, not really philosophy fare. Uh, it's unless the majority of my subscribers happen to have been Boy Scouts, which, as far as I'm aware, none of them have been, and if some of them have, it's probably a small minority. This video is going to seem very esoteric and irrelevant, and that's fine. Uh, Although one of the main reasons I started this channel is to spread ideas that I believe in, I'm also just trying to learn. And so this is more of an asking uh, if an impression I got in Boy Scouts was accurate or not. Now, uh, as, in my previous video on Boy Scouts, I mentioned that it's an organization that's ubiquitous to the point that most people in the society know at least a little bit about it. Not very much, and if you weren't in it, you probably don't understand it very well unless you had friends who were in it or relatives or something. But one of the things that most people will at least have a passing awareness of is the rank of Eagle Scout. Its place in popular culture, if not legendary, is at the very least well known. And for those of you who don't know, it is basically the highest rank you can achieve in Boy Scouts. Now there are a few other accolades you can add to Boy Scout or the Eagle rank called Eagle Palms. They're also Boy Scouts is an organization that has literally innumerable awards, the vast majority of which nobody ever even attempts to get. If you look, they have medals for just about everything. I remember one time I had a book that had all of them, and it's literally an encyclopedia of. I mean, they have a different medal for every religion. They have different classes for every religion. They have medals for camping in snow or for life saving or for tropics. But the one award that is the hegemon of all is the Eagle Award. Now, to get the Eagle, you have to advance through the previous ranks. The first one being Boy Scout, Tenderfoot, Second Class, First Class, Star, Life, and then Eagle. And the first, let's see, first four ranks. Well, the first rank is Boy Scout, and it's a superfluous rank. You can get that in 10 minutes. That's basically just to say you're officially in the organization. That's all that they ask for to get you to allow you to be a member. Although informally, that's usually not even necessary either. I mean, a lot of times people say, here's my kid brother, here's my nephew, it's something, and they don't actually get the rank. But there's basically no requirements. I think you have to memorize the oath or something, which does not take very long. Uh, the next three ranks, Tenderfoot, which is one most people have heard of, probably, and then second and first class, they have an assortment of requirements. You have to learn so many knots, you have to perform certain kinds of first aid, you have to do so many nights of camping, pretty basic stuff, and all those ranks together are conceivably earnable in a very, very short time. In fact, people have done it in a matter of a week or two in some cases. I think that's a little cheating, but pretty much anybody who joins the organization and stays in it for a year or two will basically almost certainly have, without even trying, automatically have earned that far. Now, the next rank, Star and Life, require a bit more. You have to have an elected position within the troop, which is usually not too difficult. Unless the troop is huge, there's probably almost as many elected positions as there are members. I know in mine, I mean, you have the senior patrol leader, the assistant senior patrol leader, the patrol leaders, the assistant patrol leaders, then you might even have ancillary things like the librarian, the quartermaster, the historian, and if you really, everyone who got elected could literally be almost everyone in the troop. Now, a larger troop, maybe that's less true. The most coveted positions, namely patrol leader, were harder to get, but you didn't have to be a patrol leader. You could just have any elected position. The other thing you had to do is you had to do community service. Uh, Troops vary on how they count that, and usually it's only like 9 hours, which isn't much. The other requirement for Star Life and above is you have to retain the previous rank for 6 months. So at that point, there's automatically a break set. You can get first class, like I said, probably in a week or a few months. After that, it automatically takes 6 more months to get to the next ranks. And so you can't have someone earning Eagle immediately. People have done studies to try and figure out what's the earliest age you can get Eagle, and it's hard to say because the earliest age you can join Boy Scouts is a little arbitrary. I believe the rules are you can be 12, you can be in 6th grade, or you could have gotten the highest ranking Cub Scouts, which is the Arrow of Light. Well, 12 is a pretty obvious one, but how old do you have to be in 6th grade? It varies. How old do you have to be in 5th grade and get the Arrow of Light? It varies. I've heard stories of people who got Eagle by purposely doing it as fast as possible, earning it before they were 13. But like that would literally be the record. Uh, a person who gets it early is probably going to be 13 or 14. Most people who get it will get it closer to their being 18. And then the other change from the previous ranks of Star, Life, and Eagle, you have to get merit badges. And there's a list. I don't know how many merit badges there are in total. I'm guessing it's somewhat over 100. You're required to earn 15 or 18. I'm not sure. Someone can check my math. It may have changed since I was in it. That are required. And then you're given a choice of just whatever for the remainder. The merit badges vary enormously on how difficult they are to achieve. Some of the merit badges do actually require at least 3 months, some of them more than that. Some of them are pretty demanding. Some of them you can earn in an afternoon. The one with the shortest requirements, it's my understanding, is called basketry, which I do have, and there's only 2 requirements. Make a basket, make a mat. I believe the one with the most requirements is skiing, and I don't have skiing. I had to book for it at one point, and it's very extensive. They're probably close to, I don't know, dozens and dozens. There may even be 100 requirements. And then there's some that are really obscure. I know the most obscure one is bookbinding. Almost no one ever gets bookbinding. And the most commonly earned one is first aid. It's required, and it's like general fare. Whenever you go to summer camp, they teach it. And so you get so many merit badges, you become Star, along with the elected position in the 6 months. So many more, you get Life. And then Eagle is similar, as you have to finish all the merit badges. So you have to do the elected position, and then you have to do the community service. But the big difference is you have to do a quote-unquote service project. And this is where this is going to get a little esoteric and basically be me going off my personal analogies here. In my experience, that last service project makes all the difference because it is more or less subjective what that is. And what this means is that the requirements for the rank vary tremendously from troop to troop. Now, to a certain extent, this is possible even for the merit badges. Technically, when you earn a merit badge or a rank, a leader has to sign off on it, and there has to be a certified by the BSA counselor for that merit badge who signs off. So you can't just go to your scout leader and say, I've done all the requirements for skiing merit badge, and then he goes, okay, and signs you off. You have to find someone who's actually been certified by the Boy Scouts of America to teach skiing, which means that some of the merit badges are very hard to actually earn, not because the requirements are necessarily difficult, but because it's very hard to find someone who's actually certified to do them. Now, the required ones, usually you can find somebody, but I know 3 of them you had to get: citizenship in the world, nation, and community. We only had one person in our troop who was qualified to do it, and his kids weren't in scouts anymore, and he was happy to help, but he would only do it for 1 month out of the year. And so if you missed that May or whatever, you had to wait a whole other year before you could earn those merit badges. But the other requirement is obviously if you have a relative like a parent or something, they cannot sign you off as having passed rank. There's an obvious, allusion to corruption there, that the idea being that a parent will just sign off their kids, but the truth is there's no regulation, and I'm not calling that there should be any, but we all know, if you're a Boy Scout, that in some situations you do have parents signing people, and I not in my troop, but there's an adjacent troop, and there's two sons, and that was their father was there to sign off all their stuff, and they were both Eagle by the time they were 14. Now, that's just dealing with the merit badges, but the Eagle project, It's pretty vague what the requirement is. You have to do a community service project of some type, and it's my understanding that these have to be approved by the council, but it's also my experience that the council, at least my council, and I've heard about this in other councils, basically defer to whatever the scoutmaster says. So if you go to your scoutmaster and say, here's my service project, and it's nothing, like I'm going to pick up litter for 1 hour by myself. Okay, that's good enough. It's likely that the council will just say, okay, he said okay, we say okay. And in which case your Eagle project is a very small affair and hardly noteworthy as an accomplishment. On the other hand, if you have very demanding scoutmasters, it could be very difficult. And I don't know that I ever knew a place that had more demanding scoutmasters than mine. Now there probably are, but I never met any because they were really, really serious about it. And I mean, would only have maybe one person earn Eagle every 2 or 3 years. I remember when I got to that point, and uh, just to be clear, I never earned Eagle, and so might come off as some kind of embittered claim. It's not. I had a great time in Boy Scouts. I loved every minute of it. I'm very proud of my accomplishments. I was a scout. I was a senior patrol leader for more than a year, for almost 2 years, and the troop really did very well under my guidance. And we had a very scout-oriented troop at that point, and we really were a very great, vibrant organization, and I felt like I had a big part in that, and I personally enjoyed it enormously. So I guess you could say, hey, he didn't get it. He's a little, whatever, bitter. Not really. It's just a little weird whenever you meet somebody and you find out you're both Boy Scouts. Like, it's inevitable that you get asked, well, did you get your Eagle? And it's annoying as hell to say, no, I only got life. I got all the merit badges, community service, all that. But, I went to my Scoutmasters and I said, I'm thinking about building birdhouses and putting them out in the state game area. And they said, that's a great idea. And then I said, how many are you thinking about building? I was saying 20, 30. And they're like, well, that's kind of lame. You should probably build more like 600 birdhouses. And not just like the ones you build in shop class, but like osprey nests. And then place them like in the middle of the marshes, like in a swamp a mile from dry land, some of them. And I was like, if that's what it's going to take, and I started looking into it, and then I had a job, and it ended up not happening. But part of it was such an amazingly daunting task, and that's what they wanted. And so for me to get Eagle was very, very hard. But I know for sure in some other places that it's like just another little tiny hoop. It's just a signature away, and boom, you got it. And so this bugs me because it means that when someone says they have Eagle, you're not certain to what degree they've really earned it. Maybe they have. I'm just gonna. I mean, since I'm not a judge. There's no reason for me to, you know, uh, claim that somebody didn't earn it unless I know otherwise. Unless I know there was cronyism with their parents or whatever. But it does kind of rob the value then from the people who do actually earn it, because then you can't tell. And you don't know if somebody really did something that amazing or if they just, because the popular imagination, the Eagle Scout is a very high honor, and the Boy Scouts certainly treat it as such. I mean, who hasn't heard the poem at the? I mean, it's every Eagle ceremony I've been to, they read the poem about, 100 scouts, like how many of them will become senators and how many will become congressmen and businessmen, and then how many will become Eagles. Uh, it's I mean, of all the youth organizations in the country and all the accolades they can give you, it's the one that people actually even know about because of its fame. And yet, the merit required to receive it varies tremendously. Even in the small area I was in, there was enormous differential. Because there are troops that we interacted with, and I liked them. They were good guys and everything. But everybody over 14 in those troops had Eagle. Everybody. And you'd ask them, what did you do? Oh, I painted a fence. or picked up trash, did adopt the highway. I mean, in our troop we did adopt the highway every month, and it didn't even count for our service. I was considered just an obligatory thing that we had to do. And it certainly wouldn't count for Eagle Project. The other thing is, supposedly you're not supposed to do any of the work for the Eagle Project. You're supposed to organize others to do it. And one wonders how often that, because that was a big deal. Like they said, hey, you can manage, but you can't do. And I did hear one guy tell me once that he goes, if you don't get it before you're 16, it's hard as hell because you almost always end up doing sports or school. You get a job, and it becomes much harder to put the time forward. And that certainly happened to me. I mean, I got a job, and it just became very difficult. It wasn't impossible. I'm not using that as an excuse. I'm just saying it does actually become harder for most people anyway. So I guess this video is just to express some of my irritation. This isn't enormous frustration or anything. It's not like I'm lamenting every day this fact, but I just want to pose it in case anyone agrees with me or someone's going to come on here and say, you don't have a clue, it's always the same, it's always a fantastic honor. I wish it was, and I'd like to think that it is, but my experience and reason tells me that it's not necessarily as great an achievement as maybe we wish it was. So, all right, bombs away.